Hi, Instagram. Hi, Facebook. It's time for another episode of Relationship Talk Tuesdays with moi. I'm so glad to greet you all today because today we're going to talk about, are you loving while impaired? So go on and hurry up and get your lunch and sit down. Hey, Gwen, good to see you. Go on and sit down, pull up a chair, because we're getting ready to really start talking about this. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Suzette. I'm a life coach and relationship solutionist who helps women over 40 who struggle in their romantic relationships to redefine what makes them enough so they can attract real deal love into their lives. Hey, just because we over 40, don't sleep on us. We want real love too. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. Even though statistics have counted us out, I want you to know that love does not read statistics. And I am proof and evidence that you are not too old. It is not too late for you to experience a love greater than you ever thought you ever could. I'm telling you, I live it every single day. And I am so grateful that I did not stop short of getting what my soul really desired. So now, let's talk about it. Are you loving while impaired? The reason that I thought about this subject is because I spent some years, I think it's back in 2005, I want to say, 2005, when I got a human services technology degree with a specialization in substance abuse counseling. And my first job in this new career that I had was in a DUI, or DWI agency. Hi, Rach, good to see you. It was in, and we had to provide services to people who were driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated, driving while impaired, various labels that you hear that all deal with people who were driving and they shouldn't have been, right? They shouldn't have been behind the wheel. And so I started thinking about the people that I did assessments for. One of my jobs as a substance abuse counselor was to assess what kind of treatment, if any, was needed to help these offenders, right? So I had to do some tests and ask questions, and on the continuum, I had to figure out whether they just needed a slap on the wrist or whether they really did have a full-blown problem with alcohol, right? And so I started thinking about people that I had talked with, clients I had worked with, people I had talked with over the years about their love lives and about the struggles that they were having. And there were some similarities, y'all. There were some similarities. Some of them were, they underestimated what was going on. They tended to, at least the people that I assessed for driving while impaired, driving while intoxicated, they would say to me things like, it was circumstantial. It wasn't me. This happened, that happened. It was a unique situation. I don't have a problem. It was somebody else's fault. Just a lapse in judgment. Oftentimes they had problems. They had tended to be more impulsive, more impulse driven, about their decision making. It was an impulse to get behind the wheel. They don't normally do that. And then there were those who were repeat offenders. They had several DWIs, several DUIs, and they were back and they were arguing, it's not that bad. One thing that was common is most people thought they had it under control. This was so bad, I'll never do it again. I heard that a lot. It's like, after all I've gone through with this DWI and paying the lawyers and going through the court system and finding myself here and thither and yon, trust me, I'm not going to ever do it again. Right? And I started saying, you know what? I've heard some similar things from people that I've talked with who sincerely said, you know what? After all the hell I've been through in relationships, this last one, this ain't gonna never happen again. Or they think, well, it's not me. It's the men I'm dating. It's them. If the men would get their, shut your mouth. I was going to say the S word, but I see some saints here. But if they could get their S together, then I wouldn't be having these problems. It's the men's fault. Or they meet somebody and they feel like they're really attracted to this person, and they start justifying, why he's a great person. They miss all the warning signs. They run through all the red lights. They do everything. They crash and they burn. But if you were to ask them before all that happened, they would tell you after about 1 or 2 days, you know what, he might be the one. Impulsive. Going on just chemistry alone, right? So I saw some similarities. And I am a rom-com buff. I love them. Hi, Henrietta. Thanks for joining. I love rom-com. I do. And one of my favorite ones is The Wedding Planner. Has anybody ever watched The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey? I love that movie. And I think it demonstrates so very much what can happen when you're loving while impaired. One of the things that comes up in the story, because Jennifer Lopez, I'm going to give you the quick version. She's a wedding planner, right? And she meets this wonderful man named Steve. He's a pediatrician who happens to save her when her shoe gets stuck in a drain and she's wrestling to get the heel of her shoe out and she's about to get hit, right? And so he knocks her out of the way. Handsome man, nice man, pediatrician. Well, she's thinking, oh man, she really likes him, but she finds out later that he's engaged, like engaged to be married. And he didn't tell her. Not that anything happened, but, she didn't know. And, and the way the story goes, she has a moment where she's helping him plan his wedding because she's a professional. She's going to still, get her coins, make her money, because that's what she does. And she's a professional. And she's being hired by his fiance and his fiance's family to plan their wedding. So they're out and about looking at flowers, that kind of thing, because his fiance is a driven woman. She is great. She's wonderful, and she's about to work a deal. So she says, okay, Steve, you go with the wedding planner and y'all plan the wedding. I trust you all. Do the thing. While they're out, and her name is Mary. Mary is the wedding planner. So while Mary and Steve are out doing the whole wedding planning thing, she happens to see her ex-fiance, who is with his wife who's pregnant. and they're walking holding hands. Well, she has a full-blown panic attack, right? Where she, doesn't want him to see her, all this kind of thing. So anyway, she's so shook by it, she gets drunk. And Steve has to see her home. Well, he doesn't leave her in that condition. So she's laying there and she's telling him about her experience where she was, the night before she was to get married, her fiance had sex with his now wife the night before they got married. And she caught them in the car. So it left her really, really shook. And she was explaining to Steve what it had done to her. That she was wondering, if she was really the woman's name that, the woman's name that her fiance married, her name was Wendy. And so while Mary's talking to Steve, Mary says to him, it makes me wonder whether I was enough or not. And whether I was a poor man's Wendy. Right? That he didn't really want her. She was a substitute for the girlfriend that he really wanted, whose name was Wendy. And so Steve is like, no, that's not true. Well, you can see from watching the movie that there's a connection between the two of them. I mean, you can see it. It's obvious. And he's starting to get drawn in and he says, okay, I need to leave. And she walks him to the door and everything. He leaves. She goes back while she's, busying herself with kind of getting her sofa back together because she'd been laying on it. She gets a knock on the door. She opens it and it's Steve, who in a out of breath way talks about how, the connection he felt with her and all of that, and that he might not know her, but he knows the curves of her face. Y'all know it. It was real romantic. All those things that make you go, oh, man, oh. But girl said, listen, I'm a magnet for unavailable men, and I'm sick of it. These are her exact words. And she said, except for your tux measurements, leave me alone. Go away. Go away. And except for your tux measurements, that's all I need to know. She closes the door and she locks the door. Now, when I looked at that story and the whole arc of that story, I said to myself, that's a demonstration, a perfect example of what it's like to have been loving while impaired. Because she says to him, she's a magnet for unavailable men, which not only says that she was about to marry one, but evidently there had been other unavailable men in her life, right? Which is a symptom of impairment. When you keep attracting the same kind of man over and over and over again, that's a sign that you've been loving while impaired. Because while you might have gotten over the man, you didn't get over the impairment. I want y'all to hear me. Because some of you all, after having a really bad situation with a man, have not dated since. And you think, however, that if you meet Mr. Right, that because he's Mr. Right, everything is going to be roses and everything is going to fall into place and everything's going to work for you. But if you have not dealt with your impairment, guess what? It will follow you from relationship to relationship to relationship. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. The only way to handle an impairment is to address it, which in this same story, Mary does. So y'all want to hear 4 things I saw that she did that helped her to address her impairment? Yeah? Okay. The first thing, she had to identify that she was impaired. Unlike many of the people who have driven while impaired and loved while impaired and blamed other people, she had to acknowledge that she was the common denominator. And she had to acknowledge what her impairment was. She was a magnet for unavailable men. I shared that impairment. I was a magnet for unavailable men. Garden variety, unavailable men. For whatever reason, they could not commit to a relationship with me. They were emotionally unavailable. They were. Even my 2 marriages, my then husband was emotionally unavailable. Right? In so many ways. Some of you know the story. Others of you, we might need 2 bottles of wine for me to tell you that one. Right? So that was the first thing. The second thing that she did in her discourse to Steve was she said, I'm sick of it. In other words, she had gotten to the point where she could no longer justify it. She was no longer going to okey doke herself. She was no longer going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. She was no longer going to rationalize it. She was no longer going to walk away, offload it, convince herself otherwise. She says, this is my impairment and I'm sick of it. Right? That was the second thing. The third thing, which happens when you are truly sick of something. She not only told him to go away, please go away. She closed her door and she double locked it. If you go back and watch the movie, you'll see it. She closed the door and she double locked it. She was true in her resolve that she was sick of it and she was not going to fall for the okie doke. Yes, Steve was a pediatrician. Yes, he was cute. Yes, he was kind. He stayed with her while she was upset. He didn't try to take advantage of her. He was a wonderful man and all of that. But another part that she said to him was, the woman that he was engaged to, her name was Fran. She said, I know Fran. I respect her. And she loves you. So other than your text measurements, that's all I need to know. She put a line in the sand and said, no, this far and no further. And guess what? She was true to it. She was true to it. But number 4, this is the thing that I saw when I was contemplating talking to y'all, that I said, this is the part that most people miss. Number 4, she was about to marry somebody she did not love. And if there had not been a disruption, guess what would have happened? She would have paid the emotional unavailability forward and would have put on an unsuspecting good man the debt of being married to a woman who could not love him. And this is the thing, y'all. Not only do you need to get rid of your impairment for you, but you need to get rid of your impairment so that when you are sent a good man, you don't become the very thing that hurt you. Because a blind spot many women don't recognize is they've become just like the very thing that hurt them. They've become cold. They've become unavailable. They've become that. And if there had not been a disruption, the thing about it, She had turned her away from Steve, but she had not turned away from the impairment. She still had the impairment. She still carried the impairment to the point that she was getting ready to marry somebody she did not love. And had her father not when the preacher got to the point where he said, is there anybody here who knows why these two should not be lawfully joined together? Let them speak now or forever hold their peace. And her father, Mary's father, said, I object. And he said, you're doing this because of me. You're doing this because I think this guy is a good man. You're doing this because I'm urging you. I told you the story of me and your mother, and you're doing it because of me. And she was like, no, Dad, I realized that love is not a fairy tale. And she went on with it. Well, then, and it was so funny because when her father objected, the friends that were standing up for her objected too. So the camera goes away and we're thinking, oh God, Mary's marrying somebody she doesn't love. While she doesn't know that what's happening on the other side of town is Steve is not marrying that other woman. Which brings out another point. I didn't make it point number 4, but what brings out another point. Until you deal with your impairment and it's been disrupted so that you fully deal with it, you can't really fully show up for what really can happen if you stay true to who you are. If she had gone on to marry that other man, it would have been a mistake. And that's regardless of whether Steve had married somebody else or not. It still would have been a mistake because she would have been committing herself to a lifetime of settling and thinking that's all she could ever get. Of settling and thinking that's all she could ever deserve. Right? And so I'm here as your life coach and relationship solutionist to be your disruptor. I'm here to object to you settling for less than you deserve. My lips are acting all funny. And I promise y'all I ain't been drinking. I promise you. I am stone cold sober. But my mouth is acting a little strange today. But I'm here as your disruptor. I'm here to keep you from making a mistake because you won't deal with your impairment. I'm here to say flag on the play. I'm here to say I object. You deserve better, but you'll never get better as long as that impairment lays dormant inside of you. You'll never get better. And so part of the reason that I'm encoring my Love on Your Terms masterclass is because number 1, it's around the holiday season, which can be a critical time where a lot of people settle. A lot of people go back into relationships they don't need to go back into because they're lonely. Right? And also a do-over for some people that might have come to the first masterclass or registered for it, but really couldn't participate the way they wanted to because something came up. Or thirdly, for people that participated but haven't done anything with what they learned. Because your impairment is not going to go away just from you getting a head knowledge. You've got to get that out of you. You've got to get it out of you. And it takes work. It takes more than being sick of it. It takes doing the work to work it out of you. And for some of you who have not dated in a while, you kind of like, Oh God, but I'm scared. I'm scared to get back out there. I'm scared to get back out there. But let me tell you something that people know who've ever tried to ride a bicycle. If you ever fall off the bicycle, what do they tell you? You got to get back on it. How are you going to ever learn to ride the bicycle if you don't get back on it? And how are you ever going to learn to ride a bike if somebody who is successful in riding bikes, who knows how to ride bikes, doesn't help you to learn how to do it? We figure it out in every other area of our lives, but we continue to be in the deaf, dumb, and blind section when it comes to relationships. Right? But it's the same principle. In order for you to get rid of the impairment, it has to be disrupted and dealt with. So for those of you who really want to deal with it, to get control over your love life so that you will not ever be intimidated by another man the rest of your life, regardless to whether you want to get married or not. But to get your power back, to get your mojo back, to get your sexy back, where you're in control and you know you can be trusted and you're not afraid there's somebody out there that's going to fool you again because you are prepared. You've dealt with your impairment and you know what it is you didn't know. You know how to recognize good men. You know what healthy love looks like. You know your own worth. You know the lay of the land. You know how healthy relationships work because you have a guide. You have a guide who found her way out of failed relationships and being a magnet for unavailable men to meeting the love of her life at the age of 50, 12 years ago. And from that moment on, love has held me by my hand and shown me and helped me through things I never would have ever been shown, never ever would have discovered, would never have experienced in my lifetime had I not made a decision that I was worth it, that I was not going to spend my whole time on earth wanting, wishing for, praying for great love, somebody to love me for me and never experiencing it when I could have. I didn't want to get to heaven and be talking to God about my life and he say to me, well, you really, you could have had this. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, this is what I had for you. This is the kind of love I had for you. And every time I gave you an opportunity, you talked yourself out of it. Instead of trying to deal with the impairment, you ran away from it. You hid from it and tried to put substitutes in place of it. And you could have had your years, these years, from this point to this, you could have been enjoying being with somebody who loved you for who you are. Somebody I had ready to love you. If you had just been courageous. If you just could have recognized me in a form that you didn't think I would come in. But some of you, I'm God's answer. And you've been running away from it because you don't think I'm the way I'm what you were looking for. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Sometimes the answers to your prayer does not come the way you think it comes. My God, Jesus is an example of that. How many people rejected Jesus because he wasn't what they thought he was going to be? He wasn't the king they thought they were waiting for. The reason I can tell you what I tell you is because it first worked on me. And I have other people that it has worked for too. So don't you owe yourself at least to try? And a great first step is to come to my encore of my Love on Your Terms Masterclass. It's going to be November 4th, right in time for the holidays, right before the holiday season starts tearing away at your resolve. You'll have something else to put in the place of it. It's going to be a week-long masterclass. And for those of you that attended the first one, I got some really great surprises because this is going to be some of the things that you experienced the first time, but I've added some other things that are going to help you become even more clear, even more empowered. And I am so excited, oh so excited for those of you that decide to come. The link is simple. It's SuzetteSolutions.com. Easy peasy. Go on and grab that seat. It's got your name on it. Give yourself every opportunity to have everything that belongs to you. Sure, it belongs to you, but you gotta go get it. You gotta go get it. And I know that I can help accelerate that process for you and help it to be less daunting and less painful because I recognize the pitfalls. I see the blind spots. I know what we women over 40 encounter. I know what we tell ourselves. I know how pain can manifest. I know how to recognize impairment. And one thing for sure I can tell you, I will not let you BS yourself. I will not do it. I told the people in my group, in my Love on Your Terms group, listen, this is it. This is me. It's not going to change. I have evidence to support what I'm saying to you. It's not going to change because I know it works. And I know it works for women over 40. Thank you. Somebody's sending me some love because evidently they know it's working. Thank you for sending me some love, Facebook. Thank you for doing it. There are people out there that know it works. They know it does. Hi, Venice. Thank you for joining. They know it works. So wouldn't you rather listen to somebody that knows it works than to keep right on trying to do it on your own? It's not making you less smart. My God, look at me. I'm smart. I didn't just become smart. I've been smart. I've been smart. Graduated top with honors. Got my certification as a coach. Graduated with honors. Got my second degree as a substance abuse counselor. Graduated with honors. Ran 3 businesses simultaneously. Right? A musician bar none. Have taught people who couldn't sing how to sing. I'm not dumb by anybody's imagination. Not at all. I'm smart. But I was still impaired. I want you to hear me. I was smart. Love God. But still impaired. And you have an opportunity to get rid of that impairment once and for all. Are you going to take it? Or are you going to keep giving yourself reasons why you should stay that way? The same way that the people that came to me who were driving while impaired, driving while intoxicated, kept trying to justify staying the way they were. Still getting tickets. Repeat offenders. Still coming in. Thinking they could outsmart it. Still thinking they could drive. Still thinking they were going to get it right this time. That's what impaired thinking will convince you of. That's what an unreconditioned mind will convince you of. It'll tell you, I got it. Oh, I came to that master class. Oh, and I wrote down these notes. Oh, I got it now. I got it now. Woo, honey, this ain't gonna never happen to me again because I got it. Your impairment does not care about your knowledge. It only cares about your wisdom. And wisdom is knowing how to apply that knowledge in a way that works for you, that changes your life, that changes your condition, that empowers you, that gets rid of the impairment. So I invite you again to come to my Love on Your Terms Masterclass and to bring an open mind and a willing spirit and a determination that you're not going to leave without getting what you came for. That you're not going to leave without being whole. You're not going to leave without it. You're going to do whatever it takes because you're worth it. You're worthy. And you are more than enough. I'll see you next week.